Welcome to Electric with Liz Allan. This podcast explores the transition to net zero and the systems driving real change in how we move, live and power our world. Every week I sit down with the people leading that change, those offering insight, innovation and impact in many ways people don't fully see until they hear their stories. If you're ready for real conversations that inspire action and drive change, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and join us on this journey. And let's cut through the noise and build a better future together. Hi everyone and welcome to the final episode of Electric Evolution. It's been a real journey for me since we started nearly 3.5 years ago, and this is, when it goes out live, it's going to be the 190th episode, and we also had other episodes from the Recharge series which were very short, but so we're about 109, nearly getting on for 200 episodes, and it's funny, I wanted to do a little bit of a reflection really, because when you start something like this, when you start a podcast, you don't always know whether you're on the right lines, and basically I didn't know anybody in the kind of the electrification sector, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to start it. I didn't understand so many things about electrification and decarbonisation. Even though I'm married to a professor of climate science, there were so many things that I wanted to learn, and I just thought actually this is probably the best way to do it. So I took a bit of a punt and started attending events and inviting people to this podcast, and we launched it with about 13 episodes to start off with, just to try and get people's attention. And like I say, I was an unknown in the sector, so it was a real honour to actually speak to so many people across, you know, kind of different areas of decarbonisation, sustainability, electric vehicle, charging and EV, so automotive. It was amazing, you know, and it's just been a real joy to actually interview all of the people that I've spoken to. So to start off with, I was doing things like asking questions about what's this thing called regenerative braking in an EV? What does it mean when I have to plug an EV into my house? What does that mean? How does that work? What about going out, and what do I need to do, and where do I go to actually charge the car, and how the heck does that work? You know, all of these things that I was asking. And the reason why I wanted to start the podcast, like I say, in the first place, because I wanted to share it, because I thought, do you know what, if I don't understand this, then maybe other people don't. So I tried to always make it simple, and and I could say I'm a simple person. But it's one of those things that if you try not to make it too complex and make it so that everybody can understand it, because I always think if I can understand it, then anybody can understand it. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. But being able to kind of bring all of these people on to have honest conversations and shine a light on what's happening in the various sectors that are doing such a brilliant job to decarbonise. And as you know, I've brought my husband Richard Allan onto the podcast a few times, and as I'm recording this, he's off to an intergovernmental panel on climate change meeting, and I'm very, very proud of what he's doing. In fact, do you know what, I'm going to say this, I'm proud of what we've been doing and in this podcast, and I'm proud of all of the things that everybody's doing in the sector, you know. But the biggest thing for me, we talk about, or I've talked to lots of people about technology and infrastructure and data, but for me it's always been about the people. The people have made these episodes for me, they've made it so important, and I've always wanted to open up about, you know, start the podcast episodes about that person, because my personal opinion is that if you understand where that person's coming from, then you're more likely to want to go and talk to them about whatever their product or their service is. And this has never been about selling or anything like that. It's been about that knowledge transfer, that connection, and that level of understanding, and sort of helping people to understand in as least a technical way as possible. So this episode is about reflection. It's about celebrating the number of episodes that we've had out, but it's also to say thank you to you guys for watching and listening. You know, if you've been here since the start in 2023, 2022, 2023, that's bad, isn't it? Oh God, it just seems like forever. And I mean that in the loveliest way. But if you've been here since the start, then you'll know. I was so nervous. I hated doing this, talking on my own, doing this, even though I do like chatting, as you probably realised. But it's come on such a long way. So if you've been here since the start, then I just want to say a massive thank you and a virtual hug to all of you. If you've only just started watching or listening recently, or you're catching up like ages after the podcast has finished, please check out all of the previous episodes. You've got 190 something episodes to have a butcher's at, because hopefully they are going to be kind of held in time and sort of relevant to people who are going on the same journey as I've gone on. So if you have missed one or more episodes of the podcast, please go and check them out. They will be around on YouTube and the audio channels for posterity. But I couldn't think of a better person to bring into this final episode as my very, very final guest. And the lady I've brought in is magnificent. She's the kindest, loveliest person, and there are a lot of people around that are absolutely amazing in this sector and the sectors that I've been speaking to. But this woman is amazing, and I just wanted to say thanks to Sara Sloman, somebody who I now call a friend. And thanks to all of you for all of your time and listening, your ears, your eyes, all of this. Thank you. Let's go straight to the main episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to the final episode of Electric Evolution. And I've been hoping that she was going to join me for the last episode, but I've got Sara Sloman, who was kind of one of my early guests, weren't you?
Yeah, wouldn't miss it for the world, Liz. Yours is on the equivalent of speed dial for me to listen to whenever I'm travelling across the country, and sometimes even call you after the episode to talk about the amazing guests that you've had on. And what is it now, nearly 200 episodes or something?
Well, for Electric Evolution, it is 100. This is going to be 190. There were some recharge episodes, but not that many of them. So, but we're getting on for 200. 200 people, Sarah.
Yeah, that's a very, very long line of people who, one, totally respect what you've been trying to do, not least of all with Full Circle, your sort of consultancy that helps people understand inefficiencies and getting there quicker and faster and more efficiently. But what your podcast, I think, does so beautifully is kind of bring to life the issues, get the experts in the hot seat, and you ask those questions that we as the listeners are trying to ask but never have the platform to do so. So, this podcast series has been really important, and I think historic in a sense. It'll sit where it is, we can refer to it any time, and one day we'll look back at it like a time capsule and see how far the industry's come.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, that'd be really, really, really interesting to see that. And I agree about making sure it is held. So I've been looking at various ways, because of actually making sure that the podcast is still accessible. So it's always going to be on YouTube and all the other things, all the other places, all the audio platforms, and on the website. So I was going to say, and I want to talk about you as well, because you're doing other things. But I just want to say that probably Full Circle will probably close at the end of the month as well. But I will make sure that the podcast episodes are still accessible. But look, let's just, because I know we're gonna swap places, aren't we? Really, theoretically, as in not actually physically, but Sarah's going to be asking me some questions. But I want to talk about you first, even though she's been so poorly, haven't you? You really have been poorly. For you, you're normally like climbing Mount Everest most weeks and that kind of.
I know, it catches up with all of us, and I think it's very symptomatic of the industry and the pace that we're all moving at. We do forget to put ourselves first and look after ourselves, and it's getting to the point where, you know, I'm so committed and passionate about what Paythru is doing. I've just taken on a new role there. I'm now Global Partnerships Director, so it's very much up to me to take the product we've worked so hard for global. So it's been a really amazing opportunity, just both from a learning curve experience, but also thinking about where I am best deployed. And I think there's, you know, we're both technically capable. I spent 22 plus years on the hardware side of things. It's super exciting for me to think about the software side of things, but at the heart of it is actually people. For me, it's the user experience, the journey, building something people actually want, closing that loop between technological advancement versus what's actually needed, rather than just building something for the sake of it. So I'm super proud of it, and our partners, Adyen and now Visa, and we just announced Duracell yesterday, and a handful of CPOs that we've had for the last few years.
Fabulous.
It's just a massive upward trajectory for all of us at the time when a lot of the market is contracting, a lot of merger acquisition work is happening. So yeah, it's a good time to just kind of take stock.
Are you able to actually also expand on a few other bits and bobs that you're also doing?
Again, very complementary moment. So I'm doing some advisory work with EVCI, who are really there to kind of make sure that the charger is delivering exactly what it says on the receipt in terms of kilowatt hours delivered. So again, completely new and innovative. I always seem to be drawn to these amazing innovative projects. That's sort of 1 to 2 days a month, working with Craig and Kate and the big team there. And then the sort of other one that I've just started to look at is Turbocharge. I mean, it's that piece, nothing to do with payments or software, quite the opposite. Unlocking the possibilities of charging at home for those hundreds of thousands of people who couldn't before, simply by joining the dots between a local authority's permissions and the homeowner's requirements, and therefore helping people to go EV. So it's still all in the round, it's still all in the EV space, and it's still super complementary, and of course underpinned by my love for the EV Cafe, which is 6 years old now. 6 years old.
That's amazing. I love that. And I mean, I was going to say, so I was looking at all of the past interviewees, and I think you were one of the later ones, and that was the first Christmas, wasn't it, in 2023 that episode came out. And I remember meeting you because I think I ended up, and I don't know whether Paul will remember this. So Paul Kirby, I emailed him. And I set up a meeting, an online meeting, because I think he had like Calendly or something, and he wouldn't have known who I was or anything. But I was like, you know, I've just started a podcast. Are you interested in joining me? And then I ended up talking to John Curtis, and there was yourself and Sam, but it was just actually coming into that. I think it was the first Christmas, so it would have been probably, you know, or when it was November actually, 2023, when I went to the EV show. Was it the EV show over at
Excel?
Yeah, over at the Excel. And I remember seeing you, and I was like, who's that woman? Oh my, oh, that's Sarah. Okay. And we just got talking, didn't you know?
Oh, we get on like a house on fire, Liz. And anybody who knows us has seen us on stage together. You moderated a panel I was on only last year. But more than that, we've been on the EV Rally together, which I co-host with John Curtis, and you were on the Women Drive Electric team, causing havoc, I might add, in your very fancy car. This is just exactly who you are. You're a people person, you bring everyone together, and you can sustain a really good technical conversation as well. And I think it's an amazing evolution you've been on, pun intended, because, as you say, you've got to this final episode now. and you've got a back catalogue of information and innovation that's just banked and stored, and all those people who you met along the way will always welcome you back with open arms. I know that your next sort of foray will be much more into well, what does this Allan want out of life? And I think that's exactly what you need to be doing. And there's always a really good time to close things, and I think for you, you've just reached that point where you've realised your work here is done, as the phrase in the movies goes.
Yeah, I mean, it could have kept going, you know, but we've been 3.5 years without a break, really. And I mean, it's kind of like, it's one of those things that I know you've got wonderful people. I've got the wonderful Tom Stanhope, who is the producer, but it's me that writes the show notes. It's kind of Michelle, who's been working with me, and that's kind of changing a little bit as well. So Michelle, who's been working with me, sort of, who was kind of creating the images for social media. James, my son, has done all the analytics and things like that. You know, but there's not loads of us, and it's still kind of like, well, we're going on holiday, so actually I've got to make sure that things are still happening. It's not that I'm trying to be anally retentive or anything, but so actually making sure that you've got the guests, you know, everybody's lined up, and you've recorded enough. And I used to bulk record. You know, it became. It's funny. It's never been a chore, because you know that I love talking to people. But when something becomes a little bit more, shall I say, just kind of irritating, that I'm like, oh, I've not had a chance to check out new guests and things like that, because I was spreading myself far too thinly.
Yeah, and that'd be a lesson to us all, because what you've successfully done is delivered. You've delivered an amazing amount of fabulous episodes, and now you're just repaying yourself that debt by putting a pin in it, drawing a line under it, celebrating what you've achieved. And wow, those figures are impressive. We all saw your celebration about how many views you've had on YouTube.
Yeah. That was pretty, yeah, because that was, I don't even know what we're up to now, but we got to 500,000 views on YouTube at kind of Christmas time. And I know there's some stats that, you know, if you keep your podcast the same way as the EV Cafe have, you know, if you keep your podcast going for a percentage of time or a number of episodes, you're usually in the top 5%, because a lot of people have kind of gone, I've had enough now, I'm stopping, you know.
And you always get the giggles. I love it on your episodes when your personality shines through, and you're a big believer in Kaizen, the kind of incremental improvements principle, and it's kind of exactly what you're doing. You're incrementally improving your work-life balance by saying this work is done and moving on to pastures new. Now, so what's the rest of this episode going to have in store for us? Because we talked about getting some feedback from your guests.
So, and we're recording this part before we're getting all the other things, lovely things coming through. But I am asking a number of previous guests like yourself, and people who are in a big WhatsApp group that me and you are both part of, that I kind of set up as part of the journey, really. So I've asked people to kind of just provide a little bit of feedback, and as I've said, I don't want people to blow smoke up my arse, but it'd just be nice to see what, you know, if there's anything that's sort of stood out to people when they've been watching or listening to an episode, the funny bits, you know, because you're right, I think there's a lot of people who can be very, very, very serious in this sector. There's some wonderful, wonderful people, but we all kind of get taken over by that level of seriousness sometimes, you know, and I do like to have a good old laugh and giggle, and that's been, you know, part of it. And even a bit of a sing-song with John Curtis, you know, kind of early on. I'm trying to see which episode. Yeah, episode 14, John Curtis and I were singing.
Oh my goodness me. And actually both you and John have got something in common, which you may or may not wish to go into in great depth, but praise and credit where it's due. You've shone a light on neurodivergence and the importance of understanding how one's brain ticks and how to adapt and cope and really excel when you've got that knowledge on board.
Do you know, it's funny because, and I don't know whether John felt the same way as me, but to start off with, it was hard to kind of explain about it because, you know, I think I got my diagnosis partway through recording. So, you know, I'm not saying partway through a recording. It didn't just turn up on my doorstep. But you know, it was early days for the podcast when I actually had the diagnosis for ADHD. And as a woman in my 50s, it was a real. It sent me off on a bit of I call it a spicy tangent now, which is the neurospicy thing. It sent me off on a journey of discovery about myself, and also going through a bit of grief in a way. You know, I wish you can wish your life away. You can get it. Oh, I wish if they'd have known at school, and if this and work and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff, or if my family would have understood it. But then I looked at my family and I was like, yeah, you all were, weren't you? It's that kind of understanding and coming to the recognition that it's just the way your brain works.
Yeah, and accepting that we're in an amazing era right now where some people find things like social media super negative. Some people don't like podcasts for a similar reason because they get sort of trapped in a conversation they never asked for. But actually, I think on this vein and this channel, it's been super positive. We're in a really super strong body positive era. We're in a super positive equality, inclusion, diversity era. And we're in a super positive mental health era. So nobody is going to say, oh gosh, what did she give up that podcast for? Everybody is going to say, what a good effort, wow, what a series, and no doubt miss it.
And I know that I'm going to miss it as well. I mean, I kind of said before in some of the other episodes, doesn't mean that there won't be any specials. You know, depends how me and Tom feel about it, and if there's something that I think is worth kind of shouting about, you know, then of course there'll be a special. And because then it's a bit like, you know, you get used to doing something, you kind of get, oh well, I can do that really easily, but then coming back to it, it's like, oh yeah, I remember I really enjoyed that. You know, It doesn't mean that it'll go away. And there might be other things that I'd like to talk about on other podcasts, like neurodivergence, because it is something, and there's quite a lot of neurodivergent podcasts out there, but it's about, you know, I'd love to talk to people about kind of neurodivergence in business and how we can actually manage that as kind of, you know, as an employee going into a business, as an employer, and actually as a team and things like that, because that's really important. Because, you know, when I was at the Global Women, Jill Noel's Global Women in EV Day in February, I asked a question about neurodivergence, and afterwards there was a whole neurodivergent little corner of us, which was really interesting, because we weren't coming out of the woodwork. It was kind of just, we were being honest. So that bit was really, really nice. So it is something that I'd probably like to talk about in future. But, you know, kind of looking at the whole of the podcast and all of the different people that I've interviewed, you know, I've kind of spoken to so many, you know, like I say, all of you guys, all of the EV Cafe team. You know, I finally managed to get Johnny Berry on for like episode 100. And then, you know, I was promptly kind of like, you know, I was a bit peeved by him, because I was like, he's not saying anything about it. But to actually get him on, and the funny story was that we were at another EV show in London, and no, it wasn't. It was Everything Electric, and I'd already said to Michelle Liddell, that who works for me, I'd said I'd really like to get Johnny on. So she literally, and she's only quite small, she literally kind of bounded up to him and went, Liz wants to get you on the podcast for episode 100. And she kind of sold it to him so well. And she reckons she doesn't like people, and I was just like, well, you bloody do, because that was amazing. But yeah, there's been some fantastic episodes, including the one that I had with Robert Llewellyn, and that was the most amazing experience. And the people, just in general, meeting so many people, talking to people who are actually saying to me, I've really enjoyed listening to these episodes. And I said to somebody else, I think I was talking to Victoria, who was on last week's episode, I'm not very good at taking praise, but I'm getting better.
Well, on that note, I think it's a huge thanks from myself, not least of all for the work that you helped me with at Paythru with signing the payment charter and helping us to communicate that. You also contributed to our white paper. So professionally and personally, we've been very bonded this last few years, and for that I have always been grateful. But I am looking forward to hearing the rest of your episode, where you're going to get all these additional guests to come on and hopefully encourage you to hear that good feedback and take it all on board, Liz, because one thing you are is wonderfully and beautifully holistic, and you bring out the best in everyone, not least of all with that cracking smile of yours. So I can't wait to see what you do next. I am honoured to have been your co-host and guest for this final episode. Let's hear what they've got to say.
Thank you, my darling. So moving swiftly on, we'll bring them all in, and I might not watch these bits until it goes live. I'm going to tell you that, okay? And we'll decide. I will decide. If you see me, if Tom puts a video of me watching them and crying in the corner, that'll you'll see it. But Sarah, this has been a joy. I know we will still stay friends moving forwards, because you're an amazing person who needs to just keep looking after yourself, missus. But we will move on to the next point in this final episode, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks, Sarah.
Bring on the popcorn. Thank you, Liz.
Bye.
Liz, 189 episodes is an incredible tour of duty. From our time together on the show, it was clear that you weren't just documenting the electric evolution, you were driving it. You've got a unique gift for taking the complex hard yards of infrastructure and electric mobility, and you make them human. By focusing on the people and the continuous improvement behind the tech, systems and those people, you've shifted the industry narrative from if to how. You've built a legacy of intelligence and trust that will outlast the 189 episodes. You are a superstar. Congratulations on this epic run. Well done, Liz.
Hi Liz, Neil here from Power. You may remember me from episodes 8 and 162. I thought I'd pop in and say hi. Congrats on making it to 190 episodes in the podcast. 3 years in the game, committed to it's quite something. One of the key things I took away from the podcast was the fact that you were not an electric vehicle driver when you started your journey, and this was part of your learning experience as you developed the skills, knowledge and understanding for electric vehicle charging, electric vehicle driving and the entire experience with it. And hell, what a way to do it. But one of my favourite episodes is probably episode 45. You had Toddington Harper on talking about his time building solar farms at Electric and the GridServe highway. And he took you on a little rabbit hole around bees and the role that pollinating insects play in the natural world. And I found that particularly fascinating because it showed the link between the industry that we all work in, but also the natural world, which we so fundamentally rely on. So thank you again. I really appreciate all your hard work. Best of luck for the future.
I can't really believe that Electric Evolution is coming to an end, or at least going on hold for a while, Liz. You've done so much. I had to go back and look. I was actually episode 78. I can't believe that you've done nearly 200 now. And that was back in March 2024, so over 2 years ago now. And I really just want to say thank you so much. You've introduced me to so many of your friends through the podcast and indeed through your groups too. You do amazing work in this industry, and really that's just shown in everything that you do. Who was it that I've really enjoyed listening to? Oh gosh, so many. I really like the tiny homes one. Maybe that's because I train in both built environment and in automotive and transport. So that one was really interesting and made me think about actually how much room do I need. I also liked Ella Kissy, Deborah's mother. Your interview with her, very emotional, but you had such a great chat with her. And I guess finally, I really enjoyed the one with 3TI with Mark Potter there, and how they're reusing the metal shells around the vehicles that come over from China for their solar arrays. So many amazing people that you've interviewed over these years as you've been doing it, and I really just want to say thank you so much because it has made my life as a carbon literacy project trainer over the last 3 years so much better too. And I just wish you all the very best with whatever you go on to do. Thank you so much. Bye.
It's always been an absolute pleasure to join you on the podcast, Liz, especially recently to talk about Global Women in EV Day. You've built more than a platform. You have helped to amplify hundreds of voices, many of those women whose voices may not necessarily have been heard without you. So thank you. And you've really built a legacy, and that legacy will continue to inspire so many others for years to come, Liz. Thank you.
Hi Liz, we just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you and a massive congratulations on everything you've achieved with the Electric Evolution podcast. At the time of recording, you've welcomed 188 amazing guests onto the platform, and I was even fortunate enough to be invited some 20 episodes ago. Not only have you created an amazing catalogue of guests sharing their stories, their insights, their knowledge, and educating many of the audience, you've created a catalyst for connection and a catalyst for change. It's a brilliant podcast. You should be very, very proud. One of my favourite episodes was with Rosamund talking about the fight for clean air. As you know, as a proud dad of a little boy fighting chronic asthma, it's an important topic for me. And podcasts and platforms such as the one that you've created are so important for getting that message out. So thanks again, Liz, and look forward to catching up soon. Bye-bye.
Liz Allan. So when did you start watching? Probably mid-2025. Excuse the tune, by the way. I was an interviewee previously at the end of 2026. I think we planned originally quite early on in summer. Summer became autumn, autumn became winter. It was great though. I really enjoyed the format, set up, very natural. Whole thing just flowed. And what I learned from it was the importance of structure and communication. To take your time, because I tend to talk a million miles an hour, like you, Liz, and try and focus on what you're doing. But also about being open about mental health. You got me to think loads about ADHD, which I 100% have, and about being open to that. And I found your viewpoint and your knowledge amazing and insightful. My favourite episode so far probably has been 2. I would say have stuck out as Leo Pickford's on EHGVs and Belinda Automotive's on just being cool in life. Recognise the importance of dealing with inequalities that still exist today. And that encouraged me to reach out to both of them and discuss potential collaboration. We've had some meetings in between and I'm still in touch with both, which is great. We first met, I remember at a conference. It was quite funny because I know we had one of those moments where we're both a bit overwhelmed, lots of noise, but I actually really enjoyed you being open and honest after the conversation and then having a chat. And we're still in touch. I met a lot of good people that day and I'm a big fan of them all. EV crew, all good stuff. Hi to everybody. Last thing I will say is pretty crap, but how do you find Will Smith in the snow? You look for the Fresh Prince. And on that bombshell, love you.
Hi Liz, it's Chris Cheetham at Safer Charging here. Just wanted to wish you fantastic congratulations on reaching 190 episodes of the podcast, which is an amazing achievement. And I count myself very lucky to have been among the guests on there, where you've interviewed pretty much everyone who's anyone in the EV charging space and a few other related industries. And that includes me when I was very early days in my business. So definitely a stretch at the time, I think, but very, very grateful for the opportunity to appear on it. And I think the thing that I've enjoyed most about watching the episodes of the podcast, as well as some of the amazing content, is seeing how much you've grown in that time. Because in those early days, it very much started as you just being generally curious about what was going on. And that really rubbed off on people. And I think that's why it's been successful, that it was just asking the right questions, interviewing fantastic and interesting people with all their niche experience of this stuff. And over that time, you've become someone who's now a fountain of knowledge with all of these amazing experiences under your belt and connections that you've made. So seeing how you've grown has been one of the highlights for me, I think.
Hi Liz, it's Ben here, and firstly a massive congratulations on reaching episode 190 of the Electric Evolution podcast. That is a serious achievement and a huge congratulations. It's such an incredible thing. I wanted to just send you a quick video message. First of all, just to say a huge thank you for allowing me to be an early guest on your podcast. Slight plug there, make sure you go and check that out. I was also asked not too long after that to be a guest again, which was fantastic. And one of the big things that I took from being a guest from a personal perspective was just how amazing with people you are. So genuine, so relaxed. It just felt like I was talking to someone who I'd known for years and years. And for me, I just felt like that was something that I really needed at that point, because I hadn't really done any podcasts or any kind of interviews and things like that before. So yeah, genuinely a huge thank you. What I've got from the podcast, though, is just a real understanding of so many different people who are part of this exciting EV journey. Listening to your passion and enthusiasm as you're asking people questions. I had no idea that there were so many different roles available, which was just, certainly opened my eyes. I've certainly done lots of LinkedIn searches based off the guests that you've had on your podcast, and honestly the amount of research that you must have done over this time, the amount of guests that you've had to kind of arrange times with, etc., that can't have been easy. And I think that the Electric Evolution podcast will forever be something that I'll always look back on super fondly, and it's all down to you, your team, and all of your hard work. So I just want to say a huge thank you, and good luck for whatever you've got planned next. Honestly, I'm right behind you, backing you all the way, and if there's anything you need, just let me know. But a huge congratulations once again, and look forward to seeing what happens next for you. Thanks so much. Take care.
Good morning. I am just adding to many other voices to say how wonderful the Electric Evolution podcasts are by Liz Allan. I will say, admittedly, I have not listened to all 189 as yet, but if I am going to listen to a podcast, I listen to very few, but I will always listen to ones about EVs. And for me, Liz has encompassed that human touch. So when people come on, including myself, you are almost like just having a chat. So you get the whole person, not just the EV stories, but you get the background to the person, why they chose the EVs. And so for me, we've learnt so much as a gang, I suppose. We all have been brought together. There's been amazing connections made just by having something to do with Liz. I will say she's someone that gets me to places and supports me. And I have learned many things from, what's behind just being an EV advocate like me. I say just, but I also have taught people or try and teach people how to move across to EVs. But even things like the technical stuff, a CPO, charging point operator, listening to Ewan McTurk and his wisdom, and about safety around charging and women in charging. So I'm just saying thanks very much. And honestly, those 190 hours is what you're completing on. I haven't done the maths, but that's a lot of hours, a lot of work. So well done, Liz. And thanks for including me in your team, your gang, your group, all of us. Thank you.
Hi Liz, Tracy Kearns from Welsh Government. Just wanted to say a massive congratulations on all you've achieved in Electric Evolution. 189 or 190 by the time these get edited episodes is just immense. So well done. You should be really, really, really proud of yourself. What does Electric Evolution mean to me? Well, it's more than a podcast. It's a source of utterly invaluable information from some of the EV world's leading lights. And it's a fantastic community that you've actually brought together. I was so chuffed to be asked to be Little Miss 159, doing my little podcast from Wales with you. But it's more than just a podcast, as I said. It's all about connections and friendships and learning and just being an integral part of what's probably the best sector I have ever worked in. So, my darling, I know you're just icing this. I know I shouldn't say icing, but I couldn't resist it. Icing this podcast for a short while. Just wish you all the very best with everything you do. You've learned so much. You're a brilliant interviewer. You put so much time, effort, energy and love into everything that you do, and that really, really shines through, whether it's the podcast or whether you're moderating a panel or whether you're just speaking to people and trying to connect them. It's awesome. You're awesome. Thank you for everything you've given to the industry, and thank you for being a friend.
Hi Liz, Michelle here from Women Drive Electric in sunny Derbyshire. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to yourself and everyone at the Electric Evolution podcast. Congratulations on so many wonderful episodes. You've certainly shone a light on many, many experts in the industry, but particularly women, and thank you so much for inviting us along to one of the episodes too. It's been a journey of discovery through every single episode, using your kind heart and your curious mind to ask the kind of questions that people ask in the real world. So thank you so much, and we wish you all the best for the very future.
Hi everyone, Kate Tyrrell here, just to drop a quick note off to Liz and all of the team that have put so much hard work into the Electric Evolution podcast over the years. Congratulations on just such a fantastic podcast. I've really enjoyed it. I've been a guest on a few occasions, and I even got to interview Liz myself directly at the beginning of 2025. It was such a fun experience. I've really loved being a part of the podcast. It was one of the first that I did as Charge Safe, and Liz just really helped me get my brand out there and spread my message about what we were trying to achieve. I have absolutely adored listening to this podcast over the last few years, as Liz has gracefully moved through all of the challenges that we've had to deal with in the electric industry, especially paying attention to myth busting and getting facts out there from actual experts, and just helping to break down all of those challenges that we face as we move over to electric transport. She has also dealt with some really challenging issues around renewable energy, and speaking to some incredible experts across the industry to just drill down into the likes of battery composition and chemistry, climate change. Like she's done it all. She's done it all. And what an absolute legend Liz is. So wishing Liz and everyone who worked behind the scenes of the podcast the very best of luck in your future endeavours. And I truly will treasure every single memory of this podcast, and I hope to be able to access the content for many years to come, because there are some absolute golden nuggets of information still there to enjoy. Thank you. Bye.
Hey Liz, it's Teresa. Meeting you at the EV rally back in 2024 was a real turning point for me. Through your willingness to support everyone, I have been introduced to so many incredible people, which has opened up a new network within the EV industry and beyond. I have to say I admire your warmth, knowledge and genuine passion for connection and collaboration. The Electric Evolution has grown to over 189 episodes, with this being the 190th. And you have created an amazing platform that brings people together and gives them a voice in this rapidly evolving space. Even though I haven't been on the podcast myself, I've watched so many episodes, and what really stands out is the way you put people at ease and help them share their message so authentically. You are a truly selfless lady, and with a kindness that comes across in everything you do. I feel very lucky to have worked with you, and blessed even more so to call you my friend. I'm wishing you all the best in the future, and so looking forward to seeing what you do next. Love you loads, sweetheart.
Hi, it's Amy from episode 112. I really enjoyed my time on the podcast with Liz. She makes the guests feel so at home. It's like just chatting with a friend, basically. I've really learned a lot from every episode as well, including sort of expanding my horizons around different parts of the sustainability industry. So keep rocking it, and remember, the future's electric, baby.
Hey Liz, just wanted to say hi, and wow, 190 episodes, that is absolutely phenomenal. As you can see, I'm in sunny Tenerife. I've been keeping an eye on the EV transition out here. It's not too bad actually, a fair bit of charging, but before we get into that, I just wanted to say wow, what an amazing thing you've started, and what an amazing thing it's become. I know Charging Chums has been a really good site for me in terms of picking up all the kind of local information that's going on, and hearing from all the real people leading on the transition, and you've brought that together. So a big well done, absolutely fantastic. Just to say a huge well done, really great effort. I know it's a thankless task, but it's been wonderful listening, and it's been really great building a community around EV transition, green energy transition, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, I take my hat off to you, Liz. You've approached it with so much warmth, kindness, enthusiasm, and I know it's hard, and yeah, very well done to you. But for now, I'll sort of sign off. Obviously, if you're going to do a highlights reel, I'd like to think one of the first episodes on Motability will be in there, but yeah, I'll leave that to you. But very well done, congratulations, and I'm going to miss them, but very much appreciate the effort you've put in. Cheers, Liz. Bye.
A final note from me to everyone who sent videos in. Thank you. It genuinely means so much, and I really, really appreciate what you've done. Thank you ever so much. And just a few more thank yous before I finish. To my wonderful podcast producer, Tom Stanhope. I was your first podcast. Electric Evolution was the very first podcast that Podforge produced. For those of you who don't know, Tom's always been a videographer, but we both decided to take the plunge into podcasts at the same time, and we've both grown together throughout this. To Michelle Liddell, my wonderful, I don't even know what to call her. She's always been a wonderful kind of friend, colleague, supporter, and the creative influence of Electric Evolution. Thank you to you for being here throughout the whole journey. To my son James, he's been the one who's been doing all of our analytics, all of the things that, you know, people don't always like doing, but he's been doing it. He's checked all of our analytics and always made sure that the podcast goes out on time. And thanks to you, James. As you know, being your mum, I'm very biased and I love you lots, but I really appreciate everything you've done. And to all of you watching and listening, it takes time to listen to a podcast, and I do recognise that. And I just want to say thank you for taking that time out, for watching and listening, and you've been part of this journey as well. So until next time, I'm just going to say thanks for watching and listening. That's a wrap. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're a charge point operator, local authority or stakeholder in EV charging, I'd love to talk to you about our Charge Point Evolution framework. It's designed to help you create a seamless EV driver journey, boost utilisation and maximise your return on investment. Alternatively, if you know someone who'd be a great podcast guest or might be interested in sponsoring an episode, you can email me on liz@fullcircleci.co.uk. Thanks again for watching.